All right, we are live, I believe.
We are.
This is uh this is crazy right now, Noor. We got a ton to get to. So we're actually live streaming on my YouTube channel and the Parleh's YouTube channel. So if you guys are wondering on my YouTube channel what's going on here, this is a collaboration. And yeah, we are doing a special edition of this 3-point lines. I'm very excited to be joined by my special guest, Noor Zainab. Noor, it happened.
It
The
happened.
trade of the long anticipated trade finally happened. James Harden is going to the Brooklyn Nets. Or sorry, he's going to the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben Simmons is going to the Brooklyn Nets. I can't even speak right now.
Did you think it was going to happen today? Because I didn't. I feel like the whole NBA world kind of thought that this Ben Simmons Philly saga is going to be going on for years and years and months till whoever knows. But then out of nowhere, you get this mic drop. I was hoping it would be on live TV, not live TV, but like live here so that they could get our reaction on the spot. But when I heard, I was just like shocked, but also it makes sense. Don't you think for the Nets almost?
Yeah.
Like it's such a good fit for Simmons to have Kyrie there, to have KD there. It opens up so much spacing and flooring for them. But just right now, imagine how Daryl Morey must be feeling. He finally did it.
Yeah, crazy. So the official deal, Brooklyn Nets are trading James Harden to the Sixers for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. And I feel like this was coming. This was my big, bold prediction of the day. I mean, these two teams are long rumored to make a deal. James Harden is unhappy in Brooklyn. The reports came out. Ben Simmons hadn't played all season long in Philly. It was only a matter of time until this actually happened. And it has come to fruition as everybody's crazily reacting to this trade. And this has been one of the craziest NBA trade deadlines in recent years. And I think this will work out for both teams. I do. I think James Harden and Embiid, they are going to be such a threat to watch out for in the East. I mean, I really like the Sixers' chances of making a run. And I think this is going to be a really good fit for Ben Simmons in Brooklyn. I think having him, a defensive-minded big, playing alongside a Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving when he is out there, we're going to have a big three. I think that's going to work well. And then you're going to have a good duo in Philadelphia that's going to work well. So I really like this trade for both teams.
I'm happy for Philly, honestly. You saw how much Embiid has been carrying that team on his own, really putting himself in MVP conversations, just carrying that squad and going by through Daryl Morey, who's just not giving him the help or whatever he needs. But this is everything. I think, like you mentioned, both teams here should be happy. They should be happy with what they've gotten. We'll see what level of play Ben Simmons is at currently. But I'm not sure if you saw this morning, there was this post that the Score had made on Instagram. And it was pretty much just this rumor about how James Harden really wanted to go to Philly and that's where he wanted to end up. And Kevin Durant had liked it this morning.
Yeah.
Easy Money Sniper. Right there, it says he has liked it. So they probably all knew it was milling for a while. But like you mentioned already, this is such a great fit for Embiid and for Harden. I think for both teams, it just opens up so much floor and so much spacing. And like you mentioned, for Ben Simmons to have that defensive mentality going into a team like the Brooklyn Nets, who would require that a little bit more from him, and just to get to see him play basketball again. How long has it been since we've seen Benjamin Simmons dribble a basketball?
Yeah.
A long time. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while. As we got some people in the chat here. What's going on, Pauline? We got Stephen Wong. We got JD. We got Will Upton. A lot of people still reacting to the recent news. But let's go back to the Raptors trade. The Raptors did make a trade, and it's a name that came out of nowhere. I mean, there were so many rumors speculating Miles Turner, Nurkic, THT, Porzingis as early as this morning. Jake L. Fisher was reporting on that. But then it ends up being a package of Thad Young, Drew Eubanks, and a 2022 second round pick, as the Raptors are giving up Dragic and a protected 2022 first round pick. A lot of Raptors fans are indifferent of this because they did give up the pick and they are getting Thad Young and Drew Eubanks, and they're not necessarily getting a big center in return. But here's my stance on the trade. I mean, the Raptors, it looked like they were going to get nothing for Goran Dragic, and they were pretty much handcuffed with his situation. He's got a very bad contract. He hasn't played all season. So a lot of teams probably weren't even interested. So the fact that Masai was able to get something out of it versus just having buyout Dragic, I'm not necessarily against this trade. I know what's turning everybody off is that that 2022 first round pick, but it's protected 1 through 14 in 2022 and 1 through 13 in 2023. So if the Raptors win, that's not going to be an issue. But at least the Raptors were able to salvage this terrible Dragic situation and were able to get something back. And like you said before the broadcast even started, Noor, if there's one thing I've ever gone by my entire life, it's trust in Masai. So I have a funny feeling we're going to be fans of Thad Young and Drew Eubanks immediately. And I think they're culture pieces for this Raptors team that aren't going to necessarily move the needle in terms of the Raptors being a championship team, but they are going to be nice complementary pieces for a bench. And they are going to be pieces that can be used for the rotation, as the Raptors could definitely use some more pieces for the rotation with their starters logging crazy minutes.
Tell me about it. I think my main concern with this trade deadline and with the Raptors adding anyone on was three main areas. One is shooting. We require that. Second is a center. Needed that. And third is just having that level of depth so that your players are not running 45 minutes if they're into the ground every single night. I'm not sure if that really covers all that aspects. I'm not sure if that's really the umbrella that you're under right now. But as you mentioned, this is Masai and Bobby. These are people that we question them all the time and then ends up being, completely right. They've done what they had to do and they're what they happen to know and where this direction is going to go down to. I do trust that. When we got Precious, wasn't the best of deals, wasn't the best thing when we saw him play basketball, but you see that level of potential that's in him right now. And I'm sure that's what Bobby saw. I'm sure that's what Masai saw. And that's why we bet on him. And that's why we got him back in the Lowry deal. I don't know how we will fare down the line with just having Thaddeus Young there. I don't know how much more point forwards you can add to this team. You do need a little bit more depth. We do need a couple more guards to be there, just so that Fred VanVleet is also not playing 50 minutes a night. But like you mentioned, this is just something that I cannot go past Masai and Bobby for anymore. I trust them with everything. I'm sure down the line it's gonna make sense to us. And it's just a kind of a thing where you have to wait and see how it plays out. I think that's where we're at right now. It's not the sexiest choice, not the biggest bomb that happened for the day. It's just something that's gonna pan out over time. And I just hope that in some aspects it saves my starters some minutes. That's all I want right now.
Yeah, the Raptors starters could definitely use some rest. So hopefully that does work in that respect. But I think you bring up a good point. The reason why I think many people are on the fence initially about this trade is it isn't that sexy name. I think a lot of people were led to believe that the Raptors were going to go out and get some of the names that have been rumored to go into this team all week long. Nurkic, THT, even a big of a name like a Miles Turner. So fans were fixated on getting those guys back in return. So then when we saw this deal, that was a pretty off the radar move. I mean, no one saw this coming. Thad Young was never rumored to go into the Raptors, to my knowledge, in the last couple of weeks. So when we saw this, it was a big surprise in that respect of just getting, Thad Young and Drew Eubanks. But these are two pieces that can gel nicely with this current Raptors team and be rotation pieces. Again, they're not going to be pieces that move the needle, but they're going to add more depth to this Raptors team, which has been its biggest issue to date of not having a coherent second unit that you could put out there when you want to save your starters some time in terms of giving them some rest. So yeah, I'm okay with this trade. I think again, what's turning people off is that first rounder, but it's non-protected. So that is the caveat there. And I think the Raptors are done making moves. I really don't see how else they could trade for anybody else without giving up anybody else. I mean, Chris Boucher, I think, is safe on this team. I don't think they're going to trade, obviously, one of their five. So yeah, I think this is all for the Raptors. And you know what? Overall, I'm okay with it. As Moe says, yeah, Woj bomb after Woj bomb. I know it's been a crazy day. Like just when you feel like you're gonna catch your breath,
if you see
something else drops.
Send it to us so that we can follow along. We are not on Twitter right now. We can't see no notifications. So I know once I open it, it'll be like 50 shams and Woj bombs just going against each other the whole time. And I mean, that's beautiful. I love it. It's a trade deadline in the NBA. Actually, another big deal that has happened this morning was between four teams: the Kings, the Bucks, the Clippers, and the Pistons, where the Kings acquired DiVincenzo, Trey Lyles, and Josh Jackson. Bucks got Ibaka. Ibaka is playing with the Bucks right now. Let's take that in for a second. And they also got a second round with plus cash. Clippers have Rodney Hood, and Pistons got Marvin Bagley the third. What's your take on this level of just give and take with these four teams? And how do you feel about these fits that are going to be happening? I think the Kings here kind of make the most sense to me, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, it is bittersweet. I'm a huge Serge Ibaka guy. And I mean, in a perfect world, I would have loved to see him back on the Raptors. Obviously, I knew that wasn't going to happen. But now for him going to the Bucks, yeah, that's going to be kind of weird. I mean, remember, the Raptors beat the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. They get to the NBA Finals, and now he's going to be joining that team. And who knows if these two teams meet each other in a potential playoff series down the line. So for the Raptors to go up against Serge Ibaka, that's going to be very, very interesting. But I think it's a good move for the Bucks. They're obviously thin with their front core. You know, that serious injury to Lopez definitely hurts. So having Serge Ibaka come in as that reinsurance for their front court, a veteran who knows how to get it done in the playoffs. Obviously, the Bucks are in win now mode, and they're looking to collect players who are going to fit that championship win now mode mentality. And I think Serge Ibaka is going to do a lot of good things for them.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just going to be weird to see him there because they've seen him, on the Raptors and move around so much as well. But he's still a really good piece, and he's still someone that can help. He can still help with championship contenders. So to see him there with the Clippers right now, where they really aren't in the phase to contend, they have made quite a bit of a push without their two main guys, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. But it was not going to be the push that, especially for Ibaka, right? Like he's getting up there. He's not going to be any younger. He was probably, I think he was just on a 2-year contract with the Clippers anyway, and it makes sense for him to be here and just make that one final push. I think Giannis will be happy to have him there. Like you mentioned, without Lopez, they really need that depth. So to have Ibaka there would be massive for them. It sucks because he's back in the East, so it's going to be competed against us. But that's just something that we're going to have to go through. But
Yeah.
I honestly cannot get over the fact that Ben Simmons has been traded. Ben Simmons is gone to the Brooklyn. I was thinking, like, if they're gonna trade him, he might go somewhere in the West, right? Like, why would you trade him to someone, to a competition in the East? But the way that the trade happened, it makes a lot of sense. I'm happy for Embiid. Now he has help with people that hopefully he can stand and not hate. But yeah, that's massive. Daryl Morey must be a happy guy right now.
Noor, let me throw this at you because you do bring up an interesting point of him getting traded in the East. What if down the line, Eastern Conference Finals, Sixers Nets, we have this awkward meet between these two teams, and James Harden all of a sudden has to go up against the team that he was just playing for, and Ben Simmons has the chance of exercising those playoff demons of trying to beat the team that literally booed him out of the joint. That would be something I would not put past a potential of these two teams meeting. It doesn't have to be the Eastern Conference Finals, even the second round. Wouldn't that be a spectacle?
I think if they really do rig stuff in the NBA, this is when we will know. Like, please find a way to rig this. Make sure these two teams are against each other in the playoffs. That would be amazing. Again, it depends on the level of play that Simmons is at right now. We haven't seen him play in so long, and him gelling with that team as well will be something else. But just, I think for me, it's just the spacing that makes so much sense. You have Kevin Durant there, you have Kyrie there. Kyrie can now play in a couple more games. I know he's not able to play in New York or Cali or Toronto, but like being able to play other places is going to help him quite a bit. And having Ben Simmons there, especially as a defensive anchor, will be massive for them, and take over the paint entirely. He doesn't have to take a three ever. He has Patty Mills, he has Kyrie, he's got Kevin Durant. He can do whatever he wants in the paint. And then on the other side, you've got Embiid, who has James Harden, and that spacing will be just, for me, it's all about the spacing, right? Spacing is going to get you the best shot. It's going to get you all the moments, all the opportunities, and having one guy in the paint, it's going to be a threat there. One guy in the perimeter is going to be a complete threat there. You can do whatever you want at both ends. So it's gonna be something else. I don't know why they sent Curry over too, but we'll see how that pans out.
There's a lot of details going on right now in this deal, and what was just said, the Nets are still working to be aggressive in more deal making today. So it looks like they're looking to make more moves. But just going back to that trade, as we welcome in Jelani here, the Nets will get Sixers 2022 first round pick unprotected, with the right to defer until 2023, and a 2027 first round pick protected 1 through 8. And then the 2027 pick would roll over to 2028, protected 1 through 8 again. The picks turn into 2 seconds and $2 million in 2029. So like a lot right now to digest.
You need a breakdown. Jelani, how are
What's
you
up?
feeling?
Yeah, no, I
Any news?
actually have the ESPN trade deadline special on, and it happened. It happened. So I honestly didn't think it would happen. I thought we would head into the offseason and then Harden would find his way to Philly, but no, I'm looking at it, and I think this is a good job by Brooklyn. Why? Because you don't lose Harden for nothing, right? You don't let him leave in free agency and you don't get anything back, and you get a guy in Ben Simmons. Guys, I know he doesn't shoot the basketball. I get that, that game 7 against the Hawks, all that stuff. He's a great player. Okay, he does it both ends, right? And we know what he can do defensively. They need that in Brooklyn, especially for perimeter defense. And he's going to come in here. I think he's going to be willing to contribute, right? We know that his relationship with Philly, it really took a turn for the worst, but now he's in a new spot. So I think we're going to see a new Ben Simmons. And on top of that, I like that they, acquired a guy like Andre Drummond, just giving them more depth in the interior, and also Curry. I knew Curry would be in this deal had this deal happen, because the Nets, they obviously would prefer to have a guy like, Thibault, but that wasn't going to happen. And since Thibault didn't work, then you were going to try to get another guy in there, a shooter. And that is what Seth Curry is, one of the better 3-point shooters in the league. So I like that Brooklyn has secured more depth on their roster. I just hope that we get to see these two meet up in the playoffs. That would be fireworks, because Harden, the narrative now, guys, the narrative with James is that he's a quitter, right? We saw what he did with Houston, right? He said, you know what? I'm done. I'll just gain some weight, sit out. And then here, here in Brooklyn, he was done. The reports came out that he didn't want to play for this team anymore. He was just fed up with everything. So he has to prove now. You're with Embiid, MVP type guy. You got to prove that you could get it done in the playoffs, because there are still questions about him in the playoffs. Remember that. So I like both sides of this deal. Getting the 2 picks as well for Brooklyn. Luca, you mentioned it. Brooklyn's going to try to re-up and try to get more assets, given the fact that they have 2 firsts. So yeah, I love this deal. Love the NBA trade deadline, and we saw other deals as well today. So it's amazing.
I just want to chime in here for a second. Is James Harden public enemy number 1 now in Brooklyn after the report came out that he wanted out, but he didn't want to come public with it? And then, as Noor alluded to, KD liked that report. And like you said, Jelani, he essentially quits on another team. And if he doesn't win with the Sixers now, he's going to end up being, like you said, a quitter and a guy who quits when things get too tough.
Yeah, no, I look at Harden, and he's obviously a great player. We honestly, we love what he can do. He's an MVP, all those things. But yeah, when you're looking at the most important spot in the NBA, it's the playoffs. Okay, so I want to see how he's going to show up this year with Embiid. They have a nice nucleus. They have a nice roster around him. So how are you? You wanted this. That's what I'm saying. You wanted this. The pressure's on him now, right? It can't just be Embiid. It's got to be you as well. You got to show up in the big moments. So yeah, that's a big thing. But yeah, public enemy number 1 for sure in Brooklyn. And on the flip side, I can't wait to see what happens when Ben Simmons arrives in Philadelphia, because we know the narrative about Philly fans. Okay, they're rough, they're tough. So when he shows up in the Nets uniform, that will be a lot of fireworks. It will be very interesting to see. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the Nets, as Kevin Durant will come back eventually. I want to know what's the situation with Kyrie. We understand the mandates and everything like that. But with those 3 guys on the court at the same time, you have 2 offensive juggernauts, on top of the fact that Ben Simmons provides, some interior offense, right? And he can always drive and kick. He's great in transition. And then on the flip side, on the defensive side, we know what Ben Simmons can provide. So both teams, I think it's a W for both sides. But yeah, we'll see down the stretch how it looks.
The Celtics are acquiring Spurs guard Derek White in a trade. Sources tell ESPN. That's according to Woj. As we just want to thank everybody watching right now. This is a collab between the Luca Rosano YouTube channel and the Parleh YouTube channel. We got over 200 in the chats. We really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, we'll take questions a little bit later on in the show. But as things are coming in, we are trying to process it all. Jelani, since you are joining us late, I want to get your quick thought on that Raptors deal. Did you like it for the Raptors?
I do, and a lot of Raptors fans aren't happy for some reason. We get rid of Dragic. Look, Dragic, honestly, he was one of my favorite players in the league prior to the trade, and then I don't know what happened. He came to the Six and he hated it, so whatever. But we get rid of him, okay, and we get something back in terms of Thaddeus Young. I understand a lot of people are like, who's this guy? Who is he? You know, some people out there aren't really sure, haven't really seen him play. He provides depth for the Raptors. The Raptors need it really bad right now because you're seeing all the minutes logged by our starters. So he provides a new spark off the bench, which I like. And we also saw reports this morning of Kristaps Porzingis. We saw reports last night of THT, Taylor Horton Tucker. So at least we got something, right, in this trade deadline. I like the fact that Masai saw Thaddeus Young and in the picks. I think when you're looking at the picks, I think the Raptors are in a good spot with that. It's fine. I like the deal. I do. I think both sides understand what was here. Dragic, he's going to probably leave. Obviously, he's not going to be a Spur. So he's going to be bought out by San Antonio. But as for the Raptors, I do like the deal. We'll see how it goes down the stretch, but we get depth. That's the biggest thing that I wanted to see this deadline for the Raptors, and Eubanks as well. He's coming in the deal as well. So.
Yeah, I think the one thing here that no one's really taking into account is that you're not really losing anyone from your roster. It's Dragic. Like, he wasn't playing anyway. He was in the Miami Heat facility. So having him there and getting something back for him to really maximize your bench production is what we needed. Like, we're running our starters in the ground. 45 minutes every night is not sustainable. He doesn't really make that issue cover where we do need that shooting and that center depth, but we needed that minutes restriction cut to begin with. So I think that's where Masai wanted. And Luca mentioned this before too. You can't not trust Masai and Bobby. They do what they do. They pull the craziest tricks in the moment. You're like, what is happening? And then after you're like, oh, makes sense. I'll never question them again. And then you question them again. And then it makes sense again. So it's like, all right, I won't do it until later on.
A year ago today, we were questioning that, right? A lot of people were questioning that trade, and I knew it was going to work out wonderfully. And here we are a year later, and we're praising Masai for getting the Raptors Gary Trent Jr. as they shipped off Norman Powell. So I like this too. And if there's one franchise or one system that's going to turn Eubanks and a guy like Thad Young studs, it's going to be the Toronto Raptors. I mean, this is a team that constantly finds these hidden gems and makes these role players look better than they really are at times. So yeah, we'll see how the Raptors look now with these two new additions, and we'll see what kind of push the Raptors can make in the East. I mean, they're killing it right now, guys. They've won 7 games in a row. They're taking care of business against good teams, bad teams. That starting 5 is lethal, and now you're going to add some depth to that. I'm excited to see what this team's going to do in the second half.
Yeah. And we kept Boucher. We kept everybody. We're all still here. So, I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? You have to get rid of Dragic for something. Having him here was a slap in the face, honestly, to begin with, in my opinion. Like, getting him back for Lowry, I get it. He's your franchise player. You want to respect that. I understand it. But what we got back from him in that moment was just not it for us. And like him sitting there, not playing for the Raptors, suiting up in a Miami Heat jersey, going around town doing whatever he wanted was just not the look. So getting him out was the first thing. Thank God he's gone. And then getting 2 players back who can really maximize your production. Can't complain right now. Can't complain.
Yeah, we got free players basically, right?
Because exactly.
He wasn't playing, but yeah, no. When Luca, you mentioned like the Eastern Conference is it's a crapshoot right now because there's a lot of teams in there that could make a push, right? You're looking at the Bulls, obviously. You're looking at the Bucks. Just got Serge Ibaka. We'll see how that works. I think just touching on that. I think Serge, if they get the Serge Ibaka that we know, that will be a real difference maker come playoff time. We understand that he's had some back issues. And it's funny because they wanted to acquire him because Brook Lopez has back issues. So they wanted depth, but they acquire a guy with further back issues. We'll see how that works out for them. But the Bucks are there. You got the Bulls, like I said. You got teams like Brooklyn, Philly. So the Raptors are right there. And Cleveland, obviously. So the Raptors are right there. I like the fact that we got something by the deadline. We got some depth on the bench.
So let me ask you this before we do, guys. Again, we appreciate everybody in here. Hit that like and subscribe to both this channel and the Parleh's YouTube channel, as we're going to be going live for the next, I believe, hour or so, as deals are going to be coming in. The latest is the Celtics acquiring Spurs guard Derek White. If any other trades happen, we'll update you on the fly, as this is our continuing NBA trade deadline coverage. My question is this: with the revamped rosters, if you will, of the Nets and Sixers, especially their starting fives, who's your favorite in the East now? Has it changed, or who do you like getting out of the East, Noor? We'll start with you.
Wow. Throw
You
me
can be
the question right now, eh?
you can be a homer and say the Raptors. Everybody will
No,
love you for that pick.
I can't be a homer. You know that. See, I really like this trade for the Nets. I feel like it really brings them together, and adding Curry to that mix, to someone you already have, someone like Patty Mills on the roster who can still go out and be that sixth man for you to get those buckets and get those 3-pointers. And then having Seth Curry there for that same reason too. Like you're really getting this roster together that knows how to shoot, how to play together, how to pass, and then adding Ben Simmons, who really is the defensive anchor who can hold that team together and give him just the paint. Just let him have the paint and, do whatever he wants there, because he can't shoot. Like, we know he's not going to shoot. He's not going to even bother to. He shouldn't at this point. You've got Kyrie, you have KD, you have Patty Mills, you've got Seth Curry. There's no reason why Ben Simmons should ever take that three. But that's why I think it's perfect. Like, just let him have the paint, let all these guys take everything else. And being able to have that spacing is really what matters, because you're going to get the best shot every single time. And I think it's gotta be the Nets, right? Like, I still believe the Bucks a bit. I think the Bucks they took their foot off the pedal, because they understood now that they don't have to produce every single regular season unless they're actually going to do something in the playoffs. So I think they're taking that a little bit as a stride. But I think that it's always been the Nets, honestly. Once they figure their stuff out, they just have that roster, that star power that if you read it, how do you say no? Like, how do you say, no, this team is not going to win? Like, I give it to Chicago Bulls. Sorry, but it's got to be the Nets.
Yeah. What do you think,
Yeah, no,
Giovanni?
for me, I was looking at the Bucks. That's my preseason pick for the Eastern Conference, but I don't want to just make another mistake, because when I saw the big three, the initial big three of the Nets, I was like, okay, they're gonna run through everybody and win the championship. I want to see how this is gonna work with Ben Simmons before I put all my stock into the Nets. I understand that Simmons is coming in. I like the move. I like what Brooklyn has done. I think they do win this trade, but before I put them over the Bucks, I want to see how it's going to work. So I'm going to give the Bucks their respect. They did win the championship. They did win the East last season. Look, they had, a slower start than we expected, but finding their form, they understand, post All-Star break, that's when they're really going to turn on the Jets and stuff like that. So I'm going to give it to the Bucks so far. But yeah, I know Brooklyn's right there, and I would not be surprised if they manage to win everything this season. But as for Philly, I mean, they are a nice team. I just don't know if I could put them above teams like the Nets or Bucks yet. I can't put my stock into Philly as much as I can, those other teams that I mentioned. Even Miami's there too.
Yeah,
That people,
that's a dark horse.
overlooking them, but they have a good squad. And my favorite coach in the NBA for years has been Eric Spoelstra. I believe in him, no matter who's out there on the floor. So they'll cause issues as well. And I actually have them over Philadelphia, to be honest with you.
Can I ask you guys a question, actually? Do you think Philly gave up too much?
I don't think they did. I think to get this trade done, I think they had to give up what they gave up. I was asked what would happen if this actually did go down, and I said, yeah, it would be Simmons, it would be a Seth Curry or Thibault, and a few picks would be on the table. I didn't expect Drummond to come into the deal, but he did.
Yeah.
And I think that it was justified. I think this trade is even. You're getting a guy like Harden, right? So you're gonna have to give up, something, right? Harden is a first ballot Hall of Famer. So yeah, we knew that the trade had to be even in this way. And again, that's why I'm saying Brooklyn, I like what they managed to do. They got a lot of parts for their bench that at times this season hasn't looked that great, right? So for playoffs, this is gonna be very important.
Yeah, I think if you're Philadelphia, you almost had to make this trade. You knew deep down you weren't going to win it all as constructed, and you needed to get Embiid, another superstar, to play alongside. So this is a deal that we know Morey has been holding off for so long to get done. So when he had the opportunity to make this happen after rumblings came out that Harden did want to get traded, he struck, and we saw that he was going to do whatever it takes to make happen. Morey had so many trades come his way for Ben Simmons over the last couple of months. I feel like we talked about it 24/7, whether it was over asking the Raptors for Siakam, OG, and
Yeah,
everybody,
that was wild.
or going to other teams like the Pistons. He would not budge. He would not give in. This dude was adamant of getting one man and one man only, and that is James Harden. So, of course, when this opportunity came, he did whatever it took to make it happen. And just looking at these two teams and their projected starting lineups, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I mean, Harden and Embiid are going to be special together. But I got to go back to what Noor said. I'm still going to side with the Nets as being the team to beat in the East. I actually like this trade a lot for them. I think it provides more balance for them. I mean, you're going to have Ben Simmons, Aldridge, Durant, Seth Curry, and Kyrie Irving as a starting five. That's a pretty good balance of a starting five. And we know Ben Simmons, for as bad as he can't shoot the ball, he's a really good defender, an interior defender. And Seth Curry will provide the Nets some much needed shooting. And then you got guys like Joe Harris who can come from off the bench and provide some scoring as well. So I like how the Nets look right now. But yeah, as we've been saying all show long, I would love for these two teams to meet up, and then that will officially decide who won this trade.
Yeah, and one thing I just wanted to say, this is very interesting in terms of the future of the league. And why do I say that? Because you're looking at both sides, Ben Simmons and James Harden, and you're saying to yourself, how did they manage to get out of their situations? They sat out, right? I don't think this is good for the league, because as soon as something happens, someone's gonna, just cancel out. They're gonna be like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done here. I'm gonna sit out or pout or whatever. And I don't think that's good for the league. So when you're seeing this trade, I know it's huge. I know it's, everyone's talking about it. It's crazy. But deep down, when you read between the lines, I think that the league and the owners, especially when you're looking at the next, contract talks and CBA, they're definitely going to crack down on this, because when something goes wrong, you can't just sit out. You can't just pout. You can't just complain. And we saw that with Ben Simmons, a guy I like a lot, but I didn't like how that ended up with Philadelphia with that situation. And I also like Harden, but all of a sudden he just doesn't want to play for the Nets anymore. You are allowed to request trades. I'm not saying that's, bad, but I'm saying just the way that we're seeing certain guys request out or want out, it's not that great of a look for the league moving forward. So we'll see. I think they're going to definitely crack down on the ways in which these guys want to leave in the future.
Yeah. I mean, Kawhi did that. Dragic did that.
Yep.
And look at where we are. It's definitely not the nicest. I mean, it's entertaining value for sure if you're not the fan of the team.
Yeah.
But once Dragic did that, you're like, oh, I get it now. I get it. This is not fun.
If only the real world was like that. You're at a job you hate. It's like,
Oh my
I'm not
gosh.
working another day at the job unless you increase my pay. And then they give in. It's crazy. We see this so much, especially in the NBA. And you're absolutely right. Ben Simmons literally took fine on fine just to not play for the Sixers anymore, because he hated that team. He hated the culture, hated the fans. And now he got what he wanted. He got a trade.
Yeah,
and then
it
James
worked.
Harden, literally two weeks ago, I guarantee you he wanted to be here in Brooklyn. But then after this losing streak, he's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I would be better with Embiid in Philly. And then he got what he wanted. It's crazy. It really is crazy. I think we'll take some question now, guys, as we wait for more trades to break down. I just did a nice refresh of Woj's Twitter timeline and Shams. There's nothing new, so until something new happens, we will be taking some questions. So if you guys have any questions for us, we'll pop it up here on the screen, and we'll get all three of our responses to it, as this has been a crazy NBA trade deadline. Let me see. What can we start here with? We'll start with Stephen McInnes. Again, thank you so much for watching, guys. Hit that like and sub button. This is our ongoing coverage of the NBA trade deadline. We'll be going live until 3, seeing if any other crazy trades will happen. We'll see if Westbrook's next. But Stephen McInnes says, do you see the Raptors getting past the first round now? I think I'm there now, honestly. Maybe too hyped, LOL. What do you think, Noor? Are we getting too excited here with this claim, or do you see the Raptors as a team that could get in, and if they do get in, they'll win a round?
I not gonna lie to you. With beginning of the season, I was like, we're not even making the play-in. How do we make the play-in? That's not gonna happen. I'm at a point now where I think we do have a shot at the playoffs. I think the way that this team has been playing, the gelling has been there. They're healthy at the very least, and they're giving all the right guys the reps. You're seeing Gary Trent Jr. coming out. Like I know we have amazing players there, but I think I'm most surprised and impressed by his production and his play because what we really needed was shooting. We've always had defense and we've always been able to stay in games because of our transition and everything, but being able to shoot has been everything. So having Gary Trent there to do that, and Freddie obviously being the guy that he is, has always been there. Pascal becoming into his league of his own. OG becoming that one guy once again, and Scotty really being rookie of the year, completely being that candidate. I think it gives us a shot. And honestly, not gonna lie to you, but Philly, I think, has got to a point now where we don't have Marc Gasol or Ibaka, but we could neutralize them to a point where they're not, all you got to do is stop Embiid and Harden, right? And if you're able to do that, then I think you can make something out of it. I was going to go back to the trade for Brooklyn and Philly, but I think that just in terms of how it leaves them, it leaves room for other teams in the East to move up and do something else about it. And I think that's kind of where the Raptors can step in and make a mark for themselves. So I don't know if they make it past the first round, but I think they can make it to the first round, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for me, I'm looking at the matchups, right? And you're seeing the Eastern Conference so far. If it started today, we're playing Chicago. I don't know. It's a tough series. That would be an interesting series, to be honest. But let's say we get somebody like Cleveland, who's a fourth right now. Let's say we get in the fifth spot. It's very possible. If that happened, I think I'm taking the Raptors, right? So it really depends on matchups. But the way that the Raptors have been playing, I am very impressed with them. I just want to see the bench. The bench production is going to be huge. If we do want to make the playoffs and win a series, the bench, right? That's what happened. Remember 2019, guys? What happened in 2019? The bench production showed up. It wasn't just the starters. So, I do think, though, it is, just to answer the question, I think it's very possible that we could get past the first round. But I will just say it does depend on matchups because certain ones favor, other ones.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about matchups. I'm going to just look at the East right now. I think you would definitely want to avoid the Nets as they're going to work their way up the standings, you would think. You want to avoid the Sixers. You want to avoid those are the two biggest teams I think you would want to avoid. I guess you would want to avoid the Bucks, but I don't know. The Raptors always seem to have their number.
We can play them tough.
Want the Bucks. I think we want the Bucks,
right? Like I'm saying if it's Bucks, Cleveland,
even
Chicago,
Miami.
And I'll even say Miami. Actually, Miami scares me. I won't put Miami
I don't
in the
want
conversation.
Miami.
If it's Bucks, Bulls, Cavs, I'm feeling good about that playoff series. If it's Heat, Sixers, Nets, not so much.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Really? Yeah. I think we can even maybe take on Sixers. I feel like if you neutralize Embiid, you give yourself a little bit of a shot. Like you kind of are able to do that. But yeah, against the Heat, you got Kyle, you have Butler. We know what they both can do. Butler thrives on eating us during the fourth quarter. So there's no way I'm gonna go take the Heat on anything. I think they will take whatever. But I think the Bucks, we've shown that we can take them. We have the Bucks killers on our team. Norm is gone, but you still got Freddie. So this is something that I think they can do, but you're right. I think Miami is just that one team that I really can't, they're scary to me. They're that dark horse. They're someone that they can really come through whenever they want to. And like Jelani mentioned, they just have that coach that really will do that he can make adjustments, and you need someone that will come in to make those right adjustments, especially in the playoffs, because as we know, Nick Nurse is the master of throwing the worst curveballs at you, and you need someone on the other side who can handle those curveballs, and it's got to be Eric. And you pair Eric with Kyle Lowry, who has been there with Nick Nurse, who knows his ins and outs. That's a scary duo. I don't want to go up against that. I think they will probably take us pretty easily, to be honest.
What about Chicago? What are your thoughts on Chicago?
I think that's something that we could maybe take. It comes down to DeRozan, and maybe not even DeRozan, actually. I think it comes down to more so his supporting cast. I would say Caruso, Levine, everybody else. I think DeRozan's someone that you can slow down a little bit, especially in the fourth quarter. We've seen in the past too, where you're able to take the light away from DeRozan a little bit, not to take away his roses or whatever from him. But I think once you realize where his points are, you can take those points away from DeRozan. At that point, I think it would just be coming down to stopping the other guys. And we've done that already this season. Like, we have beaten Chicago, especially while we were still really injured. So, and
Right.
they were missing Caruso. I think the biggest thing for the Bulls is Caruso. Having Caruso in the lineup is massive for them defensively. That's why I look at the Lakers and I'm like, they better be shitting themselves on the bed because you lost Caruso. That's the one guy that kept everything so close and tight for you. So I think that's what I would be scared of. But Chicago, I don't know. I think we could do it.
I gotta see it. I gotta see it to believe it for Chicago. I think they could make a deep run potentially, but it's one of those where you just have to see it. Can DeRozan finally lead a team to the promised land? Can that team stay healthy? We've seen them have their fair share of injuries, and yeah, that's going to be huge. But we do know if they are healthy, they are going to be a tough out. We got another question here. So we are talking about the Raptors. Will they get, past the first round? Where are they ultimately going to land, you guys think? Will the Raptors be a playoff team or in the top 6? I mean, right now, where are they? Right now, the Raptors are in 6th, and they're only 4 games back of first. If they continue this hot play, you have to think they can continue to move on up.
It's going to be tough. You're looking at the top 6, obviously, all separated by a few games right now. And I'm gonna say it's more likely that we're a play-in, because I'm looking at this trade right now that we saw today. We know the Nets are gonna move up the board, right? And we understand they have dropped several games because guys have been out, or Kyrie hasn't been available to them, in terms of home games. But I expect them to probably make a push for that spot, for that top 6. I mean, and then when you're looking at Philly, they're still there. Other teams like would the Hornets make a push? We don't know. I would say though, the Raptors could definitely make top 6, right? And I would love for that to happen because there may be a matchup that we could be favored in, right? Let's say we meet the Cavs. Let's say we meet a team, that we could probably beat, right? But if you're asking me, which one would I put my money on? I would put my money on the play-in for the Raptors, but seventh.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to come down to the health of the team. As long as they can stay healthy, I think this could be a team that can make it to the playoffs itself. I think they can go beyond the play-in point, and that's me going back on my word. I was literally like, "Oh my god, you think we can make the play-in? That's crazy." But now I think they really could. Yeah, they could really go towards the playoff spot. But I think it will come down to their health. We saw how they struggled when they were unhealthy, when they were going in and out the lineup, and the guys weren't meshing and gelling. And this is where you do need to make those trades to make sure that you have that depth and you have that resources to make sure that your guys are not riding out and exhausting themselves every single night and getting injured because they're exhausted every single night. I think as long as they're able to maintain that level, they should be okay. But then again, it is the East and these teams are slowly getting better. And we still have a little bit of time until the playoffs start. So anything can happen.
Yeah, I originally said, actually, before I finish that thought, we have a Woj bomb here, another trade. So we got the Pacers are finalizing a trade to send Torrey Craig to the Suns for Jalen Smith and a future second-round pick, sources tell ESPN. Before we get to the next question, what do you think we're done in terms of like the big names being moved? Or if there's one big name that you still think will be traded, who do you think that will be? I mean, I don't know who the hell they would get back, but Russell Westbrook?
Oh, man.
Does he stay on the Lakers? I know Jelani's been tweeting away, man, watching those games and disappointment. Hey. Is Russell Westbrook still a Laker past the trade deadline?
We need Jelani's input on Westbrook.
Honestly, I am a huge Westbrook fan. He's one of my top 10 favorite players ever. But I just, like, who is he? He's a shell of himself, okay? And I'm no Lakers fan by any stretch, but it's just disappointing what has happened with LA. Now, Luca, you're asking me by the deadline, how much time's left, right? I mean, the deadline's approaching. So I would say no. I think no, because who's going to take him? That's my question. There's a large contract there, and there's issues in terms of play, right? And you're going to probably bring him into your squad, but do you like what he provides, right? I don't see any teams, especially contenders. I don't see any contender wanting him because I think that he would probably mess up the flow of things and, the locker room and all that stuff. Bringing that noise in the door wouldn't be good. And when you're looking at teams, on the outside looking in, in terms of playing, probably, I don't even see that happening. One team likeliest of teams that would probably take him, the Rockets. And I know, like, he was just there, right? But I think, when you're looking at that whole John Wall, Westbrook situation, a lot of Laker Nation would be intrigued or interested with the fact that, Wall would join them and stuff like that. Wall would probably come back. How is he going to look? He hasn't played in a minute and a half. So, I don't think Westbrook is going to be moved. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be moved because the issues in play, the issues in terms of the drama, the locker room stuff, and also, just the fact that contract is so massive.
Yeah, I don't think LeBron is sitting put. I'm sure he's on his phone 24/7.
Oh, he is right now.
Yeah. But currently he's like checking to see who wants Westbrook. But I think you mentioned it. I don't know if anybody wants Westbrook. At this point, you're going to have Harden and Westbrook back on the same team together to make anything work.
It's sad.
Before we move on, Embiid just trolled.
Oh, did he? What
you guys can see. Just posted this
boy.
right after Simmons gets traded.
Oh man,
I love him,
dude. He's the best internet athlete on the internet. Like, he's just one of us, essentially, reacting to these moves as they happen.
I love it when they just get on Twitter and say whatever they want. Like this morning, Patrick Beverley had a shot at
you saw that too,
at
Westbrook.
So funny.
Yeah, no, I feel bad though for Westbrook, for real.
Like, how has he fallen this much from grace? Like, at one point, he was a top player in the league. He was putting up huge numbers, averaging a triple-double, and now it's like he can't find any place on the team. It's sad to see, really, because I used to enjoy watching him, and now he's just a huge liability for any team that takes him on.
Yeah, I know. And also, when you're looking at these Lakers games at home, you're watching it and you're hearing the crowd say, "Don't shoot, don't shoot." It's it's a sad reality for Russell Westbrook, and I get it. Like, he's trying to integrate himself into this lineup, into the locker room. But as you get benched, like, I know he's a guy that doesn't want to be benched, when it matters most, down the stretch of the fourth quarter. And that's what Vogel feels like doing, right? And I knew at some point there would be issues in terms of him being on the sideline when it mattered most. And, I'm a guy that thinks Westbrook could excel as a guy on the second unit, right? And I know a lot of people are like, why would you bench Westbrook? It's Westbrook, right? But I think when you have the, LeBron, AD, and all those guys, you could bring Westbrook in as your leader for your second unit. I think that's where they should go now, because he can't find himself in this puzzle that is the starting lineup of the Lakers right now. That's why we're seeing so many issues. And again, Le GM, he's on the phone right now, but I don't think anyone's going to pick up because, there's just so many problems right now with Westbrook.
Yeah, it's really sad to see what happened to him. Let's get to this question on the screen now, guys, from Raps VE. He's like, are the Raptors done? How will we satisfy our need for bench scoring waiver wire? You think the Raptors could do something after this? I think they're done in terms of the trade deadline. I think that's safe to say. Like, they're not trading anybody else. Could you see them picking up somebody on the waiver wire?
I mean, they could, honestly. I think this is a point where you've seen Masai and Bobby. They do kind of stay put. They stay kind of quiet. They don't really make a lot of big moves until it's the middle of the night, like when you just literally don't see it coming. So I think this is, they might just be banking on the players that we currently have right now. They might have something milling. They could be trading Svi. I think Svi's that one guy that you really could try to get something back for. At this point, I know Boucher has been a pretty big target for Raptor fans, but personally, I think he's someone that you still could use on the roster. And if you do trade for him, what would you get back for him? So I think at this point they could do a couple bench pieces if they wanted to, but I think in terms of big pieces, that moves have been made, and I think they're kind of gonna stay put. I feel like their biggest target this entire season has just been to somehow move Dragic wherever they could. Yeah. And now that they have done that, which has been just a thank God for everything, and getting something back from him that really could help out in the bench department, I think this is where they will just sit down and swallow and see, okay, what can we make of this now? Because I still think Masai and Bobby are banking big time on Precious and his development down the line.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the Raptors, and I think they are done in terms of moving, some parts in terms of trades. As for the waiver wire, probably because you do want to shore up some of your assets as we move forward, as we pass the All Star break. So we'll see what Masai and Bobby have ready for the Raptors. But honestly, I feel like at the end of the day, they are going to be satisfied with the deal that they did today. Just getting a few pieces back in return for Dragic, a guy that did not play basically. So yeah, I think that they are done in general for the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think it was a matter of don't fix what ain't broke for the Raptors. They literally peaked at such a perfect time. It was
Yep.
like you don't want to mess with that. You don't want to bring in another starter. You do not want to dare trade anybody of that starting five, and you don't want to make too big of a drastic change that could, in essence, kind of disrupt the chemistry and all the success that they've been going through. So this doesn't surprise me that they did go with a really under the radar move. And I agree. I think they are done making moves, and Masai and company trusts this group to see what they can do for the rest of the season. And they're willing to give them the rest of the season to prove that. We got another interesting question here from Clan Holmes. We should have a fun time answering this one. How is having Ben and Kyrie in the locker room going to work? I mean, you got two quote unquote divas. Like, how is that going to work there in Brooklyn? That's a really good question.
Man, I'm looking at this question. This is a nice one because this is what we thought in terms of the initial big three. How was that going to work? Huge personalities. You got Harden, you got Katie, you got Kyrie, and ultimately it crumbled. That's why I'm not. Look, I like the deal. Okay, I think they did win the deal so far. Even though I like to see people play before I decide who wins the deal, but I'm looking at this, and these are big personalities, man. And Ben Simmons, he's dealing with everything that he dealt with over the past how many months, ever since that playoff series with the Hawks, right? And he wants to prove that he's that guy still, and he's still that all-star type of player, and that he could, prove people wrong. He has to prove people wrong because people think he's cooked, and people think that he's done mentally and on the court. And as for Kyrie, we're still dealing with the whole mandate thing with COVID, and he's not available for these home games and things like that. And that's why I'm saying when we get to the playoffs, are things going to change? We don't know, obviously, but if it doesn't change, if things stay the same, and you're looking at a playoff series where they need Kyrie, he's not available because probably a home game, game 7, let's say. It's gonna be huge, right? In that aspect. And how is KD gonna deal with these guys, right? Because he is buddy with Kyrie. You're bringing Ben in, and you're dealing with a guy who's been through it mentally and all these things. So I think, honestly, to make this work, it's not just going to be the health of the Nets. It's going to have to be, dealing with all these guys in the locker room and saying, okay, guys, we have a goal. And that goal is the Larry OB trophy, right? And to get that trophy, we have to sit down and understand who we are as a unit, as a squad, and not just in terms of playing on the court. We got to understand who's who, not putting stock into, one guy more than the other. You got to work as a team here. So yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see how Ben comes in, because if it's the same case as Harden, being upset quickly, or just being annoyed with the fact that Kyrie's not available and KD's out due to injury, things are going to crumble. So we'll see how it works.
Noor, what do you think happens with Dragic as we get to our next question here?
I think he's gonna end up with the Mavs. Like the way that everything has been going out, there's no way he's on. If he doesn't, that's a big lead up for what? Like the whole team wanted him. Mark Cuban made all these declarations about him. Luca was having him over for dinner. Like there's no way he's not gonna be with the Mavs, right? It's gotta be the Mavs. And if it's not the Mavs, then the Heat, like where else is he gonna go? I know there's a couple suitors that he has currently right now. There's Milwaukee's also interested for some reason. I mean, I get it. Chicago is interested. Clippers are interested. He is a really, like when we got him, I was so excited. I was like, this is Dragic is a player that you want on your team because you hate him when he's playing against you. He's that guy that does all the little things that just gets annoying for you, just like Marcus Smart, just like Kyle Lowry. Like, he's that kind of a guy. And having that presence there, especially as a vet and being there for their younger point guards, I thought that was going to be massive. So it sucks that we weren't able to use him, and that's what makes you want to hate him some more. But I think any other team, he will thrive if he wants to be there, and he will be a really, really good asset. So I can see any of them making a run for him, but I think that at this point, everyone's pretty much settled in on the fact that he pretty much should be with Dallas by the end of all this debacle.
Yeah. If he's somewhere other than Dallas, I'm shocked. Like, who else? If it's not Dallas, I mean, Miami, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
I'm looking at Milwaukee probably.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to load up, right? They're trying to
Yeah.
make another run. So if it's not Dallas for some reason, I think Milwaukee for sure.
Even the Bulls want him, apparently. And I think he
Yeah.
would be a pretty good fit there too, just off the bench to help out. But if he wants to play, it depends on where he wants to play. At this point,
TR Raptors says, I would have traded Boucher for the right package. He is so hit or miss. He's only playing good because it's trade deadline. What were your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Chris Boucher? Are you happy, Noor, that he's still on the Raptors, or did you want the Raptors to maybe see if they could get something back in return for him, since he is coming up on an expiring contract?
I think when you're on a spot to trade a player, you should always trade a player for someone that you're going to get better back. If not better currently, then better down the line in terms of the next 4 or 5 years. And whatever you're dealing with for Boucher, and I understand the inconsistency with him, you do see that a little bit, but I don't see what people are always yelling about. I understand that there's points where he's completely inconsistent, but there's also points where he's coming through the way that we need him to come through. He's such a big spark off the bench, and he provides such a massive, just everything that you need from him. And I think the one thing that really doesn't go well his way is his size, unfortunately, and just being able to get thrown around isn't the best thing for a center. But beyond that, and having him there just as a backup for something, I think that's not a bad look for Boucher at all. If you're going to get something back for him that's going to be beneficial down the line, of course that makes sense to me. But currently, the way that he's playing, the way that he's been, I don't think he's playing well just because it's the deadline. I think he's capable of playing well, but it does help that it is the deadline, so it gives him that extra incentive. But I think he's great. I think he comes through. I admit that the inconsistency is there. It's not the best thing ever, but when you do see him play, he plays really, really well, and he's able to shoot. He's able to run the floor. He's able to be in transition. So those are the 3 things the Raptors are always looking for, regardless. So unless you're getting something massive back for that, right now is the time to stay put.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if there wasn't anything there, you're not going to just trade Boucher for the hell of it. Like, he has been playing a lot better. He has been that breath of fresh air from the second unit. He's been rebounding the ball very well. Obviously, that, him watching Dennis Rodman clips has been helping. And he's been a good energizer for him off the bench. He's always at the right spot at the right time, it seems, especially during this win streak. So I'm okay with the Raptors not trading Boucher in this situation.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good that we kept him. And I think that a lot of Raptors fans were looking at it and saying to themselves that Boucher is actually older than you think, right? He's 30, you might want a younger guy to come in. But no, I like what he's done, especially as of late. And yeah, you might point to, the deadline was coming up, so he wanted to, make sure that he didn't get moved. But no, I think that he's a critical piece, as we move forward. And again, we keep on talking about, the roster and the lineup, right? When you need someone else to log minutes and to get points and to get, boards for you, that is Boucher on this roster, right? Yeah. You can't always rely on the regulars, right? So I'm looking at Boucher and I'm saying to myself, yeah, no, I'm glad that he's staying, and I hope that he continues to play well down the stretch.
All right. Nothing new from Woj. He's quiet. It's funny. Nothing's going to happen. And then in the final 10 minutes, all hell's going to break loose. I feel like that always happens.
Westbrook.
Oh, boy.
If that happens while we're on live, Westbrook actually gets traded, like, I'm going to flip my chair. Like, that'd be crazy.
Jelani, where would you want to see him go if he were to go somewhere?
Wow. I don't even know where he would fit, right? Let's think about it. Like, you're looking at the Western Conference, you're saying to yourself, no one's going to want to help the Lakers via trade, and no one's going to want to take Westbrook in, right? So I would just say get him to a place where he could do what he does. Like, let Russ be Russ. And that's what people were saying when he came to the Lakers. Let Russ be Russ, but they didn't take into account that LeBron's there and AD's there, right? So he can't do his regular things, right? He's not even averaging a triple double. Like, LeBron's the first guy to stop him from doing that in how long, right? So I think for Westbrook, it's not necessarily a team. And if they did ship him, if they did move him, it would probably be, let's say, Eastern Conference. But honestly, just get him in a spot, in a place where he could be that guy that could just relax, right? There's so much pressure on him right now. And if you're asking me where would he go, I would say it wouldn't be a contender at all. I think it would be a team on the outside looking in. I don't know specific team, but yeah, it would be a team most likely in play-in at max.
What do you guys think? I actually saw this come up from, I hope I'm saying this right, PS3 Shakes 123. He said Portland. And actually, that's not a bad point. And in terms of Westbrook going there and Damian Lillard going to the Lakers, how would that fare out for both teams?
I mean, for Portland, it wouldn't be that bad, I guess, given how Westbrook would show up. He would give you the 110% effort every single night. And they're in a transition period anyway in Portland. So I think getting a guy like that would kind of make sense per se. And as for the Lakers, they would love it. Obviously, you get Dame Lillard there, and when healthy, he's definitely one of the best point guards of this generation. And he would definitely allow for the Lakers to probably make a push. Look, the Lakers are so 500. Like, they lose, they win, they lose. I think getting Dame in there would probably provide more consistency in terms of, that lineup. But, the likelihood of that happening, very low.
Yeah,
they would never do that.
Yeah, I don't see any way that Portland would accept that. And, I get it. Portland, in terms of this Westbrook thing, Portland's actually not looking for a guy like Westbrook right now. They're looking for Anthony Simons to be the guy moving forward. Because I do expect my guy Dame, one of my favorite players, I think he's going to leave. But they're trying to move forward with Anthony Simons, right? So I don't think that Portland would probably even be an option for Russell Westbrook.
I agree. I think that's going to take a crazy amount of just first round picks to make sure that they can get something for Westbrook over there, or just send him off to, I don't know, Turkey.
Oh boy.
Could you go? Sorry, Jelani.
Yeah, I don't see Portland doing it.
Luca, I think you're muted. I think so.
Yeah, I am muted. Wow. Thank you, Noor. I was talking to myself for 2 whole minutes then. I was going to say we have a trade. Washington is finalizing sending Montrezl Harrell to Charlotte.
Good pickup.
So he's going home because he's from there. And it's funny? When he was a free agent, that was my prediction, that I saw him going to the Hornets. And a couple of years later now, I think a year and a half later, he gets to go play at home.
No, that's a nice. I like that.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, that is really good. I think for the Hornets too, right? They're really making that push right now. They need to have a couple more pieces in their lineup, and to be able to get any level of production that helps out Melo and their main guys, that's what they need. So I like that for Hornets. I think Washington's at a point right now where they don't know what they're doing anyway. So good for them.
Yeah, no, I like this for Charlotte. Why? Because this, deadline, I was looking at Charlotte and I was saying to myself that they're going to make a move to get a big. And I was looking at Rashawn Holmes, possibly. I was looking at guys like maybe Marvin Bagley, even though he's in Detroit now, or a guy like Montrezl Harrell. So I think that this is good for them. They need to make a push, right? We mentioned it. The playoffs, post All-Star break, how are the Hornets going to look? They have been playing some nice basketball on the year, but I know they don't want to be in that play-in. But it seems as if they're going to be there. Okay, so when you look at that fact and the other teams that they'll possibly play in the play-in, you need a guy like this, high motor, high energy, can do it for you offensively at times, and definitely be that guy interior-wise on the defense. And at times, the Hornets have struggled in that area in terms of interior defense and rebounding on the glass. So yeah, I like what they did with this pickup, and I knew it had to be somebody, like I said, either Holmes, Bagley, or Harrell.
The final deal is Charlotte is getting Harrell for Vernon Carey and Ish Smith, and that's according to Woj. So that is the details of the latest trade that's got Harrell going to Charlotte. I really like that for the Hornets. I think that's a big pickup for them. So the East is getting good.
Yeah,
The
They're
Wizards
upgrading.
are trading Aaron Holiday to Phoenix.
Ooh, who? Oh wow, another. Is that from Woj
really?
or
That's
You
Shams?
guys just came in.
It's a ShamWow.
Yeah,
For sure.
Shams, he's been quiet.
Yeah,
He had a great
yeah,
start
they're
to the
trading
day.
a little bit, but
Yeah, Shams had a great start to the day, and then Woj just picked it up. So
That's why I kind of like I was focused on Woj, but yeah, Nora's right. Shams just tweeted out Wizards are trading Aaron Holiday to Phoenix, so Phoenix trying to get some more pieces for their title run, hopeful title run.
yeah, no, that's a nice one because more depth, obviously, and we mentioned who else did they pick up today? Was it Torrey Craig, I believe, in the deal with Jalen Smith? So with Indiana, so yeah, we'll see what happens with Phoenix, and obviously they're first in the Western Conference.
All right, we got just under or just over a half hour left of the trade deadline. Again, if you guys have any questions, ask away. Hit that like, hit that sub on both channels, and we'll see if any big trade happens. I mean, there's going to be definitely more deals over the next half hour. I think what people are expecting is that huge Woj bomb, but I think
Yeah, I
the
think we
biggest
met
moves have been made.
we got the
Yeah.
huge watch bomb.
I think so. The only name that could top everything that's happened is a Westbrook trade, in my opinion. That's literally it.
Yeah, and I think it's very unlikely. I think less than 50% for sure. Like I'd put it at like a 20% chance.
Yeah, and then other than that, like what other names were rumored to go? I mean, the Spurs, I know they shut down the Bulls who wanted Pirtle. Jeremy Grant, I'm surprised he hasn't been
Yeah,
traded yet.
that's a name. That's a name because they were throwing his name out, with teams out there like a Boston or a Charlotte, all these teams. But yeah, it doesn't seem like it's happened so far. We'll see what the Pistons think because they did bring in Bagley, right? Another big that goes with Olynyk, that goes with Isaiah Stewart. So I guess that they want to keep Jeremy Grant there. Obviously, you got Cade, you got young guys like Sadiq Bey, who I like. You got Killian Hayes, obviously. So I think they're trying to get this nucleus together. You bring in a guy like Bagley, so they'll probably keep Grant there.
What about Rashawn Holmes? That's an interesting one. I feel like he was also rumored to the Raptors at some point. What do you think happens there? You think he stays put?
Probably. I thought he was going to Charlotte. That was my prediction. But now that Charlotte got Harrell, I don't really see him moving now. Probably the Kings might want to keep him, in-house. And you see what the Kings have done. Honestly, I know, look, I joke about them all the time, poverty franchise, blah, blah. But they have, they got Sabonis there. You pick up a guy like DiVincenzo. Look, DiVincenzo, he hasn't had a great year, right? But he is a guy that could provide a lot of benefits for a team like the Kings, right? Moving forward. So they get him as well. I think Holmes is probably going to stay put. We'll see what happens down the stretch. Maybe a Washington, wants to pick him up. I know they just got Vernon Carey, but yeah, we'll see what happens with Holmes.
As a Wizards fan, I hate this trade. Yeah, we feel you, man. I mean, the Wizards were looking nice at the start of the season. We were all thinking the same. Like, this is a team that maybe could have made some noise, and I don't know what happened, but they have gone downhill.
Yeah, it was the Beal injury. After that happened, I think now Wizards are like, okay, you know what? We'll throw in the towel. We're looking to 2022-23 season.
What about Nurkic? I'm surprised he hasn't been traded. That's another name because obviously we know the Blazers are in full-fledged fire sale mode, and that was the other starter that they were potentially looking to move. You think his name comes up in the next half hour?
I think so. I think we've seen how they really are in just blow it all up mode currently. And I think obviously getting rid of Norman Powell there too was a big move for them. Getting rid of CJ McConnell is massive for them. And I think when Luca mentioned that they are really going in on Anthony Simons and making that guy your end all be all, that's kind of what they would have to do, right? But at the same time, I think Nurkic, keeping him on the roster would provide them the extra level of just depth that they need in terms of the paint. Like, he was fantastic rebounding. He was fantastic when Damian Lillard has been out, and he was helping the team quite a bit. We talked about how without Dame, the offense for the Blazers hasn't moving so nicely. There was so much more room, so much more spacing, and Nurkic was a big part of that because he was able to take over the paint himself and really to go after those rebounds, get those offensive rebounds, defensive, and everything. So I personally think it's better for them to keep him, depending on what line they want to go down on. But also at the same time, if they want to go younger, makes sense to trade him and get something younger back in value if they really want to build that younger generation of next level of basketball players coming in through Anthony Simons and stuff. But I'm a big Nurkic fan. I think whoever gets him, if they do trade him, will be a really, really good team. Just adding that extra amount of piece going forward.
Yeah, and quick point on that. I look at the Trailblazers, and they keep telling us that they want to, have this team around Dame, right? They don't want to move Dame. They want to retool. So they got all these guys in there now, that we've seen over the past few days. So I don't think they're going to move Nurkic just because they do still feel like they are a team that could make a run, I guess. But yeah, I think that Nurkic is staying put.
All right, we got an interesting comment/question here from Gianluca P. He says, is Thaddeus Young going to make a difference off the bench? Was this trade worth a first-round pick later when we could have another difference-making piece now?
I don't know. For me, it's more so like we just have had so many issues and glaring issues and holes in our team. Biggest one being that we need shooters. Second biggest one being that we need centers. You can really move those two around in whatever order you think that's best for your needs, but those were the 2 points that we really needed to fix out. And especially in our PG place, right? We don't really have much guard depth right now. We have Jalen Smith in Italy, and Malachi Flynn is not going to be playing the way that he has been playing the last couple of years. So I think that those 3 places is where we were really missing pieces and opportunities, and not adding that there was where players and fans are kind of stressed out, not understanding what's happening. I don't know how much difference he will make just yet, because the one thing for me right now is just how is that spacing going to look for the bench, right? You're going to have all these big guys coming off, and you're not really going to have a lot of shooters or anything like that. You're just going to see a bunch of congested people in the paint, and that makes it so much easier for the other benches to go and have runs against you. So I don't really know how I like this in terms of just making a difference. I think it's good to have extra pieces for sure. Getting that depth is massive because you already had a player who wasn't playing. You got 2 guys back who are going to be playing now. And like Luca mentioned earlier, this is a team that has a really good program for development, and that's something that they can really fix in on with these 2 guys. But I don't like the look of the team itself. I think that's where we didn't really get what we needed to get out of it. We just added another power forward who can sometimes play as a center, which is not really like what we're going to build a team of power forwards that are 7 feet tall. Like it's not going to be, I don't know. And then again, it's Masai and Bobby. So I've doubted them in the past. With the Scotty pick too, I got slapped in the face. So I'm not going to say a lot more right now, but I don't know if he really moves that needle for them. I think.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the draft picks that we got. I think, a lot of people are like, oh, we gave up a first. But we do end up just getting another nice pick. Why? Because we do hold the Pistons one, and they're not that great. So it's going to be early second round. So technically, basically a late first round pick. So I think Masai and Bobby, they knew what they were doing in terms of the picks. I think we're fine in that aspect. I don't think, anything's really major in that area. And as for Young, I think that, honestly, he's another guy that could come in and do certain things in terms of the stat sheet, that we need. He could, get those, rebounds. He could help us in terms of our offense at times. So yeah, and the depth, that's what a lot of Raptors fans are looking at. Do we have enough depth on this team? So I think that, this trade and Eubanks coming in as well, I think it was important for the Raptors to get at least certain assets to come back in the deal.
Yeah, it's more utility, guys. I think Thad Young will be able to do a lot of good things for him off the bench. So I'm going to be optimistic about this one. As we got another comment here, do you think Turner's going to get traded and where? I'm actually surprised we haven't seen a Miles Turner trade so far.
I think he's going to stay. And why? Because of that deal we saw the other day with Sacramento. I think now you got Halliburton there, you got Heald, right? Those are 2 guys that can really help them out moving forward. And we also heard from Miles Turner. He said he's, liking the chances to play with Halliburton. He's optimistic about it. He wants to play with him. So I think with that being said, his whole, psyche has changed, because I think prior he was really, thinking he was going to be moved. I don't think so anymore. I think the Pacers, they feel like, moving forward, they have a nice nucleus that could, be young and fast and stuff like that. So I think with no Sabonis there anymore, obviously, I think they're going to put, their stock into Turner, keeping him, and then moving forward with the guys that they just acquired, and obviously the guys they already had.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave this up here on the screen, and that's it.
Oh yeah, I trust him too. I trust him too, no doubt, 100%.
I do too, but like that Lowry trade, like that just always looms over my head. I'm like, we should never be in this position to begin with. That's just my opinion,
But I mean, I think Achua's gonna end up being solid. Like, I know he's
Yeah,
got
I
his
think that's
tendencies where he's like, "What the hell is this guy doing?" But he's coming into his own. When we first made that trade, I was very happy when I saw Achua's name, because I thought that was a piece that the Heat wouldn't dare to touch
Yeah.
or let go. Right? He was so early into his career. He was just a rookie with them. And I still think he has a lot of growing. And we keep saying this until we're blue in the face. If there's one guy, or, if there's guys that you want to see grow in a system, it is that Raptors system. Yeah. So, yeah,
I actually saw him at Summer League right when he got traded. And I was like, oh, he's actually really good. And he's like, this is fantastic. This is kind of what we needed. And he's fast. He's everything that we want on the roster. And then just over time, it didn't really pan out the way that we wanted, to a point people were like, can he play basketball? Like, is this a basketball player? But he's coming on his own, which is, I admire that. But yeah, it's just, for me, it was just pretty much like we knew Lowry was leaving, and we knew that we had the trade deadline. And why did we not make that push for some? I understand, he's your franchise player and everything. And that's where the arguments come in, that don't you want to, give him a favor for whatever? Of course. But like, this is also a business, and you're also running a team, and you also need to make those plays and win the team. So it's not just about here's a gift and give me whatever you want back. This is about, like, this is the same guy that traded DeRozan in the middle of the night for Kawhi Leonard. That was also your franchise guy. And you got Kawhi back for that, but that's still a business move, right? So, and the thing in terms of that is just where I'm just like, that's such a non-Masai thing to do, where, you got Dragic back, who did not suit up for the Raptors, and you gave away the best guy that was on your team for years. So that's kind of where I go in, but that's just,
guys, we got a crazy trade that just dropped. This is a shams bomb. Dallas is sending Porzingis to the Wizards, as the Wizards are trading Dinwiddie. Are you kidding me?
Wow. We just spoke about the Wizards getting a center. We just spoke about that, right? Because I was like, okay, are they going to get Holmes now? Or are they going to look somewhere else? Wow, Porzingis, this is intriguing. And honestly, when you're looking at this deal, why did this happen? Because the reports did come out that the locker room they just didn't like Dinwiddie anymore. They wanted him off the team. They wanted him moved. So, but as for the Dallas Mavericks, I mean, hey, that experiment with Luca and KP, it didn't really pan out. I thought they would be better. And Luca, we know who he is, right? And Porzingis, he felt like, I should be that guy. I should be the guy with the love. It shouldn't just be Luca. I don't want to be second fiddle. That's why this ultimately happened, right? And he hasn't been as great as we expected him to be. Remember, he was an all-star in New York, guys. Okay, we remember those times. He comes to Dallas. Your expectation, if you're Mark Cuban, was that Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis would be the new addition of Steve Nash and Dirk, with what they once had. But yeah, no, for the Wizards, I mean, to ship Harrell earlier, and to get a guy back like Porzingis, I like this for the Wizards. Let's see what Porzingis is going to look like. He's going to be relied upon a lot because there's no Beal out there, right? So offense is going to definitely be centered towards Kristaps moving forward. And as for Dinwiddie, we'll see what happens with Dallas. I mean, they're guard loaded right now, right? They got a lot of guys there. I like Brunson. You got Dinwiddie now, Luca. So we'll see what happens with that. But interesting trade for sure.
Yeah, like I'm surprised. Like Dallas, giving up Porzingis here. Who's like they lose a big front court piece. That's the thing. You have another guard coming on back, but
yeah, they're guard loaded.
They're guard loaded. Who's going to play the inside there? Like, are they done making trades? Who knows? But
I think the one thing there was that there were rumors that Luca and Porzingis weren't able to get along, and obviously, I think that's the point where Mark Cuban would have to pick who he wants on the team, and it's obviously going to be Luca. It's not going to be Porzingis, which is why I think is probably why this trade is happening, because of locker room issues. But that came out of left field.
Yeah, they just got Bertans too.
Oh,
there
Dallas,
you
they just got
go. Okay,
Bertans as another piece in that deal, and then the Mavs ship a second-round pick that just came in from Woj. We're Shams, okay? We're
Shams on that. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. At least you're getting Bertans, but yeah, it looks like that experiment with Porzingis and Luca officially over. Wow.
Yeah, that was a failed experiment for sure. But yeah, as for Bertans, him going to Dallas, let's see how he looks, right? He hasn't had a good year. Remember, he had a huge contract given to him. He hasn't played up to that level, right? He hasn't been shooting as well, hasn't been providing as much. So we'll see with Dallas as they move forward. But yeah, in return, as you can see on the screen, the second rounder goes in this trade as well.
What was the reason for this trade?
We got like 19 minutes left. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's just the locker room. I think it's just
it's gotta be the locker room. It's pretty much just you gotta move Kristaps. If they're not getting along, they're not getting along. And obviously the franchise has gone in on Luca, and that's what it's gonna be. But like, think about it. If they add Dragic now, how many guards is that on the roster?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't are you gonna play guards all over your starting five? I don't know, right? So they're gonna have to they bring Bertans in, the bigger guy, obviously. I think they're probably gonna make another deal. Maybe not as major, but maybe they try to look across the association and say, okay, let's pick up another big somewhere, somehow. If not, look at the waiver wire.
This is interesting. Are most of the deals being done because of locker room issues? Short answer, yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we just spoke about it. Kristaps gone. We're seeing the Ben Simmons issues. He wanted out from a long time ago. James Harden just sat out the past few days. Hamstring tightness, quote unquote. No, he was upset. And then you're looking at Westbrook. I mean, Le GM, where are you? I thought you wanted to move him because there's so many issues in Lala right now. So we'll see what happens down the stretch and as we reach the deadline. But yeah, most of these deals aren't solely for depth, aren't solely about roster construction. It's really about as we move forward, the season's getting more serious, and you need guys in your locker room that are going to buy in and be there. So yeah, it's definitely because of this.
Can I just say, guys say this all the time, but men love drama. If you don't watch the NBA or keep up with the NBA, men love drama, and they love getting on top of it. This is insane.
This is like our soap opera. It really is.
Yes, the NBA is the best soap opera there is. It's better than the MLB, NFL, NHL soap operas for sure.
And it wasn't just today. It's been all week, man. Like we started we started literally last Friday with the Norman Powell trade. Then it lingered into Sunday with the Karis LeVert. And then all week, it's like, what's happening next? Who's going to get traded? Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
We got 17 minutes, guys. And remember, deals can come in after 3. That was
yes.
Yeah. That's important to know. People think like right at 3 it's over, but deals can still trickle in past 3, and so we could get a lot more.
But yeah, no, we've seen a lot of action. Just touching on previous trades, we saw the Cavs, pick up a guy like LeVert. I like it a lot. We'll see how that works out moving forward, as you got Garland, Sexton, all those guys in your backcourt, and LeVert obviously could play the 2 for you if you need. I'm looking at the Clippers. The Clippers, they made some deals. Obviously, they don't have Kawhi, don't have Paul George out there, but I like the fact they picked up Norm Powell. We know what he can do. We know what he can provide. I miss him in Toronto for sure. I think they're trying to copy us, though. The Clippers are trying to be a Toronto West. But you look at that. You obviously look at Covington. I like that pickup for sure. He's a great vet. We'll see how that works out. I think they also acquired some more guys in today's earlier deal, like Rodney Hood. So we'll see how that works. But on the screen, we see the Kings. The Kings, look, again, they are a team where, their fans are kind of fed up with this Halliburton trade. I didn't understand it either. You finally hit on a pick, and you're going to ship him away to Indiana. I didn't like it, but in return, you get a guy that's really good in terms of Sabonis, a guy who I wanted the Raptors to draft. I'm still upset about that. But yeah, you got Sabonis there. You got a guy like De'Aaron Fox. I don't think they're moving him anymore. Remember the rumors about, are they going to move him to the Knicks or something like that, right? That's not going to happen. You have those two as your cornerstones moving forward. You're probably going to keep Holmes. You got a guy like DiVincenzo, like I mentioned earlier in the show, just for some more depth, and let's see how he works in Sacramento. But yeah, Sac, they're doing a pretty good job just to, get some assets on their roster that's kind of depleted in terms of talent. They're bringing in some talent, so we'll see how that works for them.
What about giving up Halliburton? Obviously, you saw the initial reaction on Twitter. Everybody was losing their minds because they didn't want the Kings to give up such a young, talented guard in Halliburton. Were you okay with that, or do you think the Kings might have messed up with that part? Like, they get Sabonis, who's going to be good for them. We already saw last night he balled out. But could they have found another way to get him, maybe shipping De'Aaron Fox instead?
Yeah, you also leave Buddy Hield out there, right? So you had to move him if this was gonna work. But I'm just shocked that Halliburton was even available. Like, I thought he would be untouchable. Out of all the Kings on that roster, I would say either it's gonna be Fox probably or Halliburton for sure. Halliburton, and I was surprised that he was in the deal. I think just given the fact that you're getting an all-star, you're getting Sabonis. It would have to happen, but I'm just more shocked at the fact that he was even, on the trading block, to be honest. And given that fact, I'm just looking at other teams, and they must have been so upset knowing they could have possibly gotten Halliburton, for any deal. Because no one even thought, like I said, no one thought he was even on the radar. No one thought he was on the trading block to begin with. So I think, with that being said, a lot of teams are kind of upset today, that they don't have him in the building. And as for Indiana, that's a W because you're moving forward with him as one of your cornerstones moving forward.
What about Eric Gordon? That's another name I'm surprised hasn't been traded.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a guy who was heavily rumored. Do we see an Eric Gordon trade happening anytime soon? Like in the next 10 minutes?
For Eric Gordon, I mean, I would look at a team like maybe the Suns, I guess. I don't know. It would have to be a contender because he can provide a lot for a contender. He's been there. He's done that. He has experience. He's a vet. Obviously, he's been through it with those Rockets years. But yeah, I think the Rockets, they do want to move off of him. We'll see what happens with that. And if not a trade, I mean, does he get bought out? Maybe do they work that out? An agreement in that aspect. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think if he does get moved, though, it's going to be a playoff team.
Yeah. Well, we got 12 minutes. So if you guys have any crazy predictions for the next 12 minutes or so, we'll see how this deadline plays out. But I think this NBA trade deadline exceeded expectations. This was a fun one. Like, we got a ton of moves today. And I liked how it was all spread out. Like I said, it started last Friday. Then it lingered into Sunday, and then all week long. So there's been a lot of action.
Yeah, and we'll see, man. We'll see with that team in LA. Are they going to make a deal? Because a lot of people were talking about, are they going to move Westbrook? Are they going to try to get certain guys to help out? I saw something last night about would there, a 3-team deal and somehow getting Cam Reddish because Reddish is not playing in New York. We know that Thibodeau, he doesn't want him, basically. So, but yeah, the Lakers, I mean, it's a soap opera waiting to happen. I don't expect it. If you're asking me right now, with almost 11 minutes left in the deadline, I don't think a deal is going to happen. I know they're talking right now, but the likelihood, I don't see it. And I think we are done in terms of the big deals for sure. The Kristaps one caught us off guard for sure,
Yeah.
but I think this was a great deadline for sure.
Appreciate that, Jaron. Yeah, you know what? The Lakers are a mess. Like, I didn't think they were going to be this bad. Like, I didn't have them winning the championship or making it to the finals, but the way they're self-destructing before our very eyes, like, with all due respect to the Blazers, but they lost to the G League Blazers last night. Like, how do you manage to do that? LeBron looks frustrated. They're not playing Westbrook. AD looks like a shell of himself. I don't think the Lakers can turn this around at all.
Do you think they'll make the playoffs?
Like, they'll make the playoffs, but there's no way they turn it around. Like, they go on an improbable run to the finals. I just can't see it happening. I can see them make the playoffs, but I can't see them get past the first round.
Yeah, no, that's fair because they might play a team like Phoenix. That's not going to be good for you.
Yeah.
Golden State, okay, no. What about even Memphis? Memphis could beat them in a series right now. I believe that. I like Ja. I like what they can provide. They're young and they're not afraid of anyone. Even Utah. I know that Utah people, they don't really buy into Utah. They just find them being a regular season team. but they are a nice team. They are a nice squad. I know they just shipped Ingles, who I like. That's tough. I didn't even know you could trade a guy that's hurt. That sucks. But yeah, the Lakers, I just don't see them getting past first round either. What about you, Noor?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is the point where you will have to see where the matchup is at. If it's going to be
True.
someone like the Warriors and Suns you mentioned, exactly, it's not something they're going to go past. We saw that last year. I think if anything, LeBron might be injured and he's just not going to be playing in the playoffs, and they're just going to be an embarrassing exit afterwards. But I think the one thing with that team is that you can never count LeBron James out. No matter how old he gets, no matter how down the line he gets, he always will find a way to make himself and his team win in some way or another. So I think as long as he's there, they do have a shot. They do have a shot to make the playoffs. They do have a shot to make it. I wouldn't say deep, because I don't think he's at that point anymore where he can really carry them all throughout the entire 4 rounds of playoffs on his shoulders alone, especially against teams like the Warriors and the Suns, who are completely teamed together. It's not just individual guys, they're teamed together. And that's what the problem with the Lakers has been the entire year, right? Where they just have had individual guys and not really that team mesh that they have required. So it's going to come down to LeBron's shoulders, which I think he can do. But I think a question for them to make the Western Conference Finals or even make the finals is out of there. Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, Jaren, all trades. I mean, we could get some trades that trickle in after 3, but I mean, it should be, in the next 9 minutes when final trades are talked about and finalized. So we'll see how this trade deadline ends up, as it's been a crazy one so far. Yeah, guys, I mean, I'm just exhausted right now. There's so much to talk about and there's so much to get to. I think the most shocking move of the day, though, it was my bold prediction, but I just did not see it materializing, and that's Ben Simmons for James Harden. It was such a fantasized trade that we talked about for so long, and just to see it come to fruition, and now actually going to see these teams out there on the court with their new players, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was happening either. I thought that Harden, if he was going to be a Sixer, it would have been in the offseason. I didn't think that it would happen here, but yeah, like we were seeing on the screen, it was definitely one of the better deadlines. Like there are certain deadlines that we see and we have so much anticipation, then nothing happens. This year we saw left and right deals coming in, contenders, teams on the outside looking in, teams in terms of the play-in trying to re-up. So yeah, no, I'm happy, and I'm also happy that the Raptors did something, right? Shout out to Masai, shout out to Bobby. I believe in what they have done today, and I know, people are like, oh, it's just that young, it's just picks. I like it. We get free players back, right? Dragic didn't even play for us, so we get something back. But yeah, this deadline for sure was very intriguing. We'll see how it goes down the stretch as the playoffs come. And I'm just looking at it. I said it before, the Nets and Sixers, it's going to be down to who shows up. Ben, are you going to show up for us, brother? Because you have a lot on your plate, okay? A lot of people are like, all right, Ben, you're now in a nice spot. The fans do like you now because you're in Brooklyn, right? They do accept you, but are you going to show up? And on the flip side, James Harden, if you want to win the championship, which he needs, I think he needs it for his legacy, right? We're talking about one of the better 2 guards of all time, but he has to show up because Embiid, right? They didn't want to waste this, right? This year that he's having, that MVP type year in his prime right now. You get a guy like Harden in, a nice nucleus around them, a nice team. It's up to them in the playoffs. I can't wait. I need that matchup, though. Please, NBA, shout out to everybody up there. I need them to somehow meet. So if, the basketball gods can make that happen, thank you. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
I think they play each other in March or April. The first game should be in March or April. Philly versus Brooklyn.
Philly, because I want to see how the crowd deals with Ben.
Really? Me too, actually, because that way Kyrie will get to play too.
Can't Ben Simmons play tonight? Like, the Nets are playing the Wizards later on tonight. We have games tonight, which, by the way, I want to point that out.
The interesting thing, Luca and Noor, it's that the All-Star teams are being selected tonight. I want to see how Kevin Durant picks. Is he going to pick Harden? Is he not? It's going to be very interesting to see those headlines coming out tonight because it is happening right after the deadline.
That is actually a good point. Holy crap.
Things could get very
weird. Locker room issues during that.
Well, yeah, and who's LeBron going to take it? Like, because we always like, oh, is LeBron doing that GM work, really early in terms of the All-Star selection? But yeah, we'll see. As for the Lakers, again, I don't know. I don't know what's happening there. Probably off season, they're going to look for somebody for sure. Like, it's going to be a big name. Okay. Dame, Bradley Beal. Those are two guys on the radar that I think they're going to look at for sure.
Yeah, the Porzingis trade has been confirmed, Jay. Just pointing that out. Kenneth has one for us here. Raptors cannot play 40-plus minutes in the playoffs for the starters. That's the thing. Like, the Raptors are obviously getting away with it now, but come playoff time, they can't possibly lean on this, on just loading up all these minutes, can they?
Absolutely not. And I think that's why it was the biggest thing, where it was like, if you want these guys to stay healthy, to be good to go and well rested, not be exhausted for the playoffs, you need to have those pieces subbed in right now, because these guys know themselves. They can play together. They have gelled together. The core has always been the same. So I'm not worried about the core. I'm only worried about resting the core. And that's what we needed to do before the playoffs. So I think having those two extra guys there would be pretty good to be able to take a couple minutes off someone. But I think the biggest part there still is for Freddie, right? Like, who's going to help Freddie out and take away his minutes and calm him down? Because clearly Malachi's not getting those minutes. Jalen Smith is going to be in Italy, and anybody else, you're just not going to be relying on them too much. So I think that's something that's going to be a problem for Freddie, especially down the playoffs. And that's something I am concerned about. I don't think he's even suiting up for tonight, actually. He's questionable for tonight. He's actually even out tonight already.
Yeah, he's not playing tonight.
Yeah, so that's another thing, right, where they really have to start resting these guys. And I understand the rest, but it's just pretty much like you need to have these guys ready to go and prepared for the playoffs. So that's where Masai has to do something. That's where some calls have to be made, or some kind of adjustments have to go into it, just so that literally Freddie is not exhausted.
Yeah, Jelani, talk to me. That's my concern. It's this backcourt, the depth, especially come playoff time, because Fred VanVleet can obviously go 40-plus minutes, the same with Gary Trent Jr. But like Noor alluded to, they don't have that guy who can come off the bench, who can not only create his own shot, but be that necessary playmaker when a guy like Fred sits.
Yeah, no, that's the issue, right? And that's also why we wanted Dragic to, be willing to support us in that area, right? But I like the points you guys made, because the Raptors are gonna have to decide what they want to do, right? Do you want to make a push for the top 6? And that would mean playing these guys night by night, giving them plenty of minutes. Or are you satisfied with possibly being a play-in team, given the fact that there will be nights where you rest some of your key guys, whether it be Fred or Siakam or Trent Jr., for example, right? So there's a real choice to be made for this coaching staff in that area, because depending on, how many minutes are logged, you may be tired come playoff time. And we've seen it down the stretch with several teams. It doesn't work. Okay. Yeah. And with specific players, it doesn't work. For example, James Harden, remember those days in Houston, logging all these minutes in Houston, and by the playoffs, usually flamed out. Right. So that's why the depth is so important. And that's also why I don't think the Raptors are done. I think we'll probably see some action possibly from the waiver wire, just to get somebody, in there that could create their own shot, that could provide something offensively for the second unit. Because you mentioned it, guys. There, aside from Fred, like, who is that floor general, right? Who is he? I don't see him, right? Is he there? So it's going to be important for the Raptors, especially if you want to play these teams. The East is tough. It's a tougher conference, I think, than the West right now. And you're going to play these teams with star power, with firepower. You're going to need your bench. Okay, that's how we won the championship a few years ago. That's how we've been making the playoffs. Remember the 2010s? We made the playoffs 7-8 years in a row.
Yeah,
it was because of the bench.
Yeah, I think that front court they could figure it out, but that backcourt again, where's that backcourt depth going to come from?
Exactly. And I think that's my problem with people who are always like, I trust in Masai, I trust in Bobby 1,000%. But these are places where you should be able to criticize their moves, right? Where it's like, you are seeing on screen every night that the Raptors play that Freddie is exhausted. These guys are absolutely tired. And let's say if Freddie goes down, let's say if he gets injured, what happens to our roster spot now? What happens to our seeding now? You're moving down. You might not even make the play-in. It's not going to be a good time for anyone involved. So I think that's been the main part. And that's why that trade for me is a little bit like, okay, well, you got some of the same we already had before. It's not really addressing the main concern, that is, If Freddie goes down, who is your anchor currently, who does every little thing for you, who comes out big in the fourth quarter, then what happens to this team? That's what I'm scared of.
I think we got Daniel Tice, the Celtics.
Ooh, back to Boston?
Another deal came in? Oh, Tice. Oh, yeah.
Let me refresh it. So my thing's so slow. Is it confirmed, guys?
Yeah. Woj. Yep. So we'll see what the other details are, but yeah, he's headed back to Boston. I like it for Boston. Why? Because you're looking at the depth in terms of their bigs.
For
And
sure.
Schroeder's going to the
Oh,
Rockets.
Schroeder. He's okay.
Interesting.
So he's going to Houston.
Wow. So again, we might see some trades trickle in as I'm going to get my charger. But why don't you guys talk on the Flynn situation? Because it's true. Like, what's going on with Flynn other than his dad going on a tirade? I'll be right back.
Yeah, no. Flynn, I like him. I liked him coming out of the draft. I thought that he'd provide a spark for us off the bench. But yeah, it's up to Nick Nurse. Like, what does he want? What does he see in Flynn? And there are plenty of times where we don't see him out there on the floor. And when he is out there on the court, it's very limited, right? In terms of his play, in terms of his production. So, you don't want to upset the guy. I don't think they want to send him to 905 or anything. So what's that situation? That's a very big question because again, we just pointed it out, the depth and the backcourt depth is very critical for us going into, this serious stretch in the season, right? And you're playing teams in the Eastern Conference who have backcourts that are strong and that have great units. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Flynn. I hope though that Nurse he has a plan right now, but I hope that plan includes giving Flynn more play time, because if not, then yeah, why wouldn't we move him, right? For something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't really understand what went wrong. Like, he was playing so well last year. Him being that extra spark was everything. We were all saying, oh my God, that's a third Kyle Lowry. We got Lowry, we got VanVleet, we got Malachi Flynn. So our depth for the backcourt looked fantastic last year. And then you added Jalen Harris on that too. So it really looked really, really good. But I don't know where the switch happened for Malachi. I'm not even sure if that was entirely on him. I will say, like, if you're playing a guy very limited minutes and just letting him play garbage minutes, he's not going to get his confidence up. It's not going to help him play better. It's not going to help him take those extra shots and have belief in himself and that ability to make those shots, right? So that's kind of where I'm like, I'm not sure if that's entirely on Malachi or if that's something to do with our coaching staff as well, and to see how they're able to plug him and plug out. But I still believe in him a little bit. Like, we've seen what he did last year. We still had pretty much the same team. He was able to do so much and he was such a big spark. So something happened there. And because we've seen that version of him already, no doubt in my mind that he can be that guy again. It's just, will he be for our team or a different team?
What about Delano Banton? How much of him kind of flourishing as well as he has out of the gate negated from Flynn's opportunities? Because I agree, like, it's a weird situation with Flynn. Like, he's not a pylon out there. He's not terrible where you don't want to give him a full chance and you don't want to give him a full leash. But yeah, it just seems like the Raptors have given up on him in a sense. So how much of that could be accredited to Banton bursting onto the scene?
Yeah, no, I think it is a lot to do with that, because Banton, he has impressed. He has been playing well, and probably, as we move forward, we may see more of Delano rather than Malachi. So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with this, and that's why if you're not going to play Flynn, right, what are you going to do if you're Toronto? Are you going to move him to 905? Are you going to keep him on the bench, rotting on the bench, or that's why some fans wanted a deal done today, because we felt like, okay, you're not going to play him because Delano has been playing some good basketball. Okay, let's get back another asset instead, since you don't see him fitting in this lineup or in this rotation.
Yeah. Jeremy Grant's remaining with the Pistons, by the way, guys. Sham just tweeted out. Grant and the Pistons have comfortably with each other moving forward. So I guess they're good. These guys are with each other. They're gonna stay. They're gonna stay put. As the Wizards, of course. Well, no, that's old news. They traded Aaron Holiday to Phoenix. Yeah, so that's basically it. I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get any more deals, but that should be it.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. A few might come in post the 3 o'clock deadline. It happens all the time, but yeah, no, there's definitely intriguing deals today that we saw, and some contenders got stronger. Certain teams in
Yeah.
the play-in definitely did get stronger as well.
And Russell Westbrook not traded.
Yeah.
Houston gets Enes Freedom and Bruno Fernando in the
Oh,
deal.
that just came in?
Yeah, this came in. They got Daniel Tease, and Boston is sending Dennis Schroeder, and they're also getting Enes Freedom and Bruno Fernandez. I keep forgetting it's Enes Freedom.
Oh, look at Woj, guys. The biggest news all day. Ready for this? No deal for the Lakers, sources tell ESPN.
Oh,
no
my
focus
goodness.
on the buyout market.
That's
Yeah, we knew that
Oh
it would
my
happen,
God.
man. Look, it's just no one. The guy that was being talked about was obviously Westbrook. And they're not going to move off of him. They're going to have to sit in it, right? And I'm looking at, LeBron, and you wanted this, right? You wanted this, and you had the chance. DeMar was there. DeMar said it was going to be done, right? It was almost a done deal. That didn't happen. You're looking at Hield. Look, he's not an A1 type of guy, but he's a guy that could definitely help the Lakers out right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And you picked Westbrook over those guys, right? And obviously you're going to say, well, Pelinka, he has the last say, the final say, right? Well, also the stuff has to go to him too. The blame has to go to him as well, because you're signing off on this. And that's what comes obviously with the territory of getting LeBron James. You have to, listen to him and follow his orders. But it hasn't been what we expected, because I honestly thought, like the masses, we all thought the Lakers would be in a way better spot, a much better spot. They haven't even been 3 games over 500 as of yet. So we'll see, man. And yeah, on the screen, you see rest in peace to the THT none and first trade package, first pick package. Look, that was rumored, that was thrown around. The Raptors would get THT none. And then I believe Cam Reddish would have gone to the Lakers in a deal, and the Knicks would have got some parts back. That was actually reported. Can't remember who. I think it was it Mark Berman or somebody from ESPN or SNY. But yeah, the Lakers, they just couldn't get it done in this market. So we'll see how they do in the second half of the season. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's funny, man, to be a Lakers fan right now. I feel like I had a comment up earlier. As long as they're not the Lakers, it was a pretty good trade deadline day for whoever. So,
yeah, agreed. I'll take it. Agreed.
That's right.
Crazy.
So,
LeBron James being put.
Do you think he's ever going to win another title before his career's wrapped up?
Maybe with Bronny, he will.
Yeah, in like New Orleans or something.
How crazy is that? We've never seen that in NBA history, where a dad is literally going to raise his son's draft stock by coming out publicly and saying, wherever Bronny goes, I would like to play with my son. So Bronny, to my knowledge, isn't regarded as a top prospect. So could we see Bronny go in like the top 3 just because that team's thinking, hey, if we get Bronny, we get his dad LeBron?
Yeah, no, probably. Because in terms of the high school rankings, he's not up there with the rest. But yeah, he does want to play with Bronny. So, if I'm a franchise, I'm definitely considering a top 5 lottery pick if I get in there for LeBron. But yeah, as for the question you asked earlier, is LeBron going to win another championship? I don't want to say no, because he proved me wrong in 2020, but I don't see it right now. I don't see it. Obviously, with his roster, it's not going to happen. We'll see moving forward with the Lakers. Are they going to acquire somebody who is, an A1 type of all-star, like a bona fide all-star that can help out, rather than what we've seen with Westbrook? But I don't see it, because there are teams that are coming up, in the Western Conference, and they're tough, right? You got the Suns there. You got the Warriors. They're back. Utah, don't sleep on them. I know they're a team that doesn't perform in the playoffs. Denver, when they get healthy, Denver is going to be there. So I don't see it. Honestly, I don't see it for LeBron, and we'll see if he jumps ship again. We'll see.
I want to get to this comment on the screen, guys. So yeah, with Raptors fans, especially on Twitter, there's always mixed reactions. People are going to be praising Masai. People are going to be hating on him. Overall, what grade would you give the Raptors this deadline? Let me preface by saying this. I think a lot of people expected a lot But don't forget at what the Raptors were working with. They didn't have a whole ton to deal with to begin with. And we already mentioned how Dragic isn't a hot trade commodity. So just keep that in mind, that the fact that the Raptors were able to pull something out for Dragic rather than nothing, that has to be taken for account here.
Yeah, for me, I think I'll probably give it. I'll give it a C. I'll put it, in the middle. Just because, I'm looking at the positives and, the pros in this is that you get depth, like we've mentioned. You get a guy specifically like Thaddeus Young, who's been there, who's done that. He has experience. He could help us in terms of the bench production that has been absent, right? So you get another guy in that area. Eubanks also, he could help you out on the floor in terms of just production, in terms of the bench. And the reserve spot was what, the Raptors wanted, right? So that's why I'm probably going to give it a C, just because, it's not huge. It's not a big deal. It's not going to shift the whole Eastern Conference by any means, by any stretch. But as we see on the screen, it is better than a buyout, right? And also, like I've said, we got something back for Goran, right? Because it was better than, just letting Goran leave for nothing.
Yeah.
We got stuff back for him. And in terms of the pick, right, we do have a pick that, is protected, right? And we will get a late second. So it's fine for us. I think that there's no A or no B, but I'll give it a C.
What do you think, Noor?
Yeah, I'm ranging between like a C- and a D+. I'd say like maybe a C-. I'll be nice.
D+. That's hard.
Oh, damn. Because listen. The one thing I will say is like Masai, I will never put anything past him. I think just currently the way that everything is built up is what I'm talking about. The one thing that we needed to do, which Jelani mentioned, was get rid of Dragic at all costs, no matter what it takes. Just get him out of there. And to be able to do that, because he wasn't doing anything with the team anyway. So you got 2 pieces back for him. That was just a huge thing to begin with. And you added bench production, which is what we needed anyway. Only thing, my problem with that is your bench is now congested. It just looks very tight. There's not much spacing going on there. And you didn't really address a lot of issues in terms of your point guard, your shooting. I understand. I think Thaddeus Young can be a pretty decent center, so I'll give him that. But I think beyond that, you're not really going for a main guy in terms of having that kind of power there. So we talked about it already. Not the sexiest moves, not the hottest, of the night tonight. But in terms of just getting the job done, they got the job done, and I think it's just going to be seeing how they develop down the line for the team.
Yeah, I agree with Jelani's grade. I mean, it doesn't directly solve the Raptors' needs, but it plays into the Raptors at least got something for Goran Dragic. I'm not entirely upset about the pick. I mean, at first it's like, oh, you're giving up a pick, but then you look into the conditions of it, and I think that's going to work itself out. But the Raptors, like we've been saying so many times, they're still going to have their issues, particularly with that backcourt depth. So we'll see if a Delano Banton can continue to emerge to help with that. And we'll see if Flynn gets some minutes, because I do think a Svi Mykhailiuk's not going to get any more opportunities here. Obviously, Nick Nurse has blacklisted him from the rotation. And hopefully the Raptors can have some good bench depth for their starters, especially as we get closer to playoff time. And the Rockets are waving and it's freedom. So there goes that tenure.
Yeah, I just saw that come in.
He's free.
Oh boy.
It's freedom.
I forgot his name was actually that. That's why when Noor was talking, I'm like, am I hearing correctly? Like, who is
Is
that?
she talking about the right league? No, this is Enes Kanter. That's funny. Where would he go now? Like Turkey?
Contender. But I'm not too sure where. That's the only thing.
Really? You think he could? Freedom? I hate calling it freedom. I'm like, what am I saying? Who's freedom?
Raptors will be champions again in the next 3 to 4 years. That's pretty bold.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Maybe let's give it like 5 to 8 years. I'll give it that.
What about the Westbrook for John Wall? Would that have been one of the trades that they could have considered? Because if there was one team, I remember reading a report, there was one team that actually I thought I read they would welcome back Westbrook, and that was the Rockets. So are you surprised that nothing ever transpired there?
Yeah, no, I said it before, when we were talking about Westbrook, I thought, that was the only option because, the Rockets, like you just said, they were willing to bring him back. They're obviously in a transition period. So Westbrook would be allowed to be him and be allowed to just do whatever he wanted on the court and get that play time that he's been wanting in LA. But yeah, I just think the Lakers weren't too sold on John Wall. And why? Because we haven't seen him in how long, right?
Mhm.
And yes, on one side you might say, okay, John Wall, he might come back and look great. He might look refreshed because he's been out for so long and he's been resting. But on the flip side to that, you might look at him and say, well, he's rusty. He's not the same. He's not John Wall that we've come to know. So yeah, that's the only way I saw that happening.
What do you think, Noor? Are you surprised nothing happened there?
Yeah, a little bit. I think there were rumors about that, right? And I think if anything, that kind of makes the best sense. I do agree with Jelani, where it's like you haven't seen John Wall play in a long time. You're not really sure what his level of play is at currently. But at this point, is anything better than Westbrook for LA? Like that's kind of what you're going out about. So I don't know. I think Le GM knows what he's doing. Rob Pelinka is just gonna go by what Le GM is saying, and we'll see what happens with Westbrook and John Wall. Luca
Let's get into some picks tonight, guys. We'll remain live for a little bit longer just to see if anything trickles in. But the Raptors are playing tonight, and they are going to be taking on Houston. As Noor alluded to, Fred VanVleet won't be playing. So do you think the Raptors should have an easy time tonight, or what are you thinking in terms of the spread? I think it was 8, but it might have dropped after the VanVleet news.
And we're playing Houston tonight, right? Sorry, I'm still in vacation mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is something that we can probably take. This is a team that's won 7 in a row now, and even without having Fred VanVleet there, this is a Houston Rockets team that you should take care of business for. If you don't, there are bigger talks to be had about it. And this is also a spread that you should be able to take pretty easily. This is not something that should be a problem. Houston does not have the offense that can compare to the Raptors offense, and they have no defense. 0 defense. So this is where the Raptors should be shining. They should have no problem. And I think they should cover that spread. There should be no problem covering that spread. Yeah, finally getting some rest, thankfully. Lock him up.
What do you think, Jelani? Who are you going with the spread tonight?
Oh, what's the spread again? What's the number at?
Let me look at the update just so it was 8 when I first saw it, but it could stay. Yeah, so it actually went down 1 point. It's -7 now.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll go Raptors here. I'm just looking at the fact that the Rockets, look, they haven't been terrible against the spread this season. They actually have been impressive in certain games against teams that you would think they would lose to by a lot. But in this spot, I like what the Raptors have done. Yes, no Fred out there tonight, so we'll see what happens with that situation. But I do believe in what the Raptors have right now, and they have momentum, right? And you're playing a team in the Rockets that has struggled. Defensively, they're one of the worst teams in terms of defensive rating. So yeah, give me the Raptors tonight.
Yeah, I think the Raptors should get it done tonight. I would lay that 7. I mean, with the way they've been covering the spread, I mean, how can you not bet on them right now? I saw a stat. They're actually 4th in the league, 4th best in the league at covering the spread.
Ooh.
Yeah,
so that's really, really good.
That is really good. I guess they don't really have really big spreads, eh? Like they kind of keep it closer than most teams.
Yeah,
That's probably why. Because I'm like, that's
Let's
a lot.
see if we have any more trades here. Let me refresh Shams and Woj. Oh, I think that's it.
Yeah.
No, that Eric Gordon thing's fake news. There's always those people trying to make fake trades up. And never a deadline without it.
I know.
All right, I think we're clear of trades. I think we are, guys. So we're gonna end it here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to hit that like and sub on your way out. This was a 3-point lines and Luca Rosano collab, and it was a fun deadline. I want to thank Noor and Jelani for joining me. I could not have gotten through these couple hours without your commentary, and it was great, guys. So we'll see how the Raptors do in the second half of the season. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
And thanks for having us.